very excited here this evening. We're at the SIMT Center. You can see behind me the large crowd of people. This is our inaugural Entrepreneurial Forum. We've got 15 outstanding people from the community that we're going to be inducting. We've got a great program lined up. Just a super exciting evening and afternoon. And as we get into this and get this inaugural event behind us, we're going to be launching an entrepreneurial studies program, and this forum, the folks that we're inducting this evening, will be a big asset to that. They will be mentors for the people that are in the entrepreneurial program, and they come from all walks of the community, so they bring lots of different skills and talent to work with young or old entrepreneurial people.
Good evening. And on behalf of our area commissioners, I want to welcome you tonight. And before we get started, I look around this room. I was just talking to Mr. Bard, and he said, "Can you believe all of this? Can you believe this turnout?" And of course, I think we would start the night off wrong without thanking Jill Lewis and Emery DeWitt for what they did. And if we could just join in a round of applause for them. You know, they do such a fabulous job with the foundation, and that's evident by what we have and the support we have out here at Florence-Darlington Technical College and the SIMT. You know, as we look at this group of honorees this evening, it looks like a who's who of the Florence community and the business leaders. These are the folks, this diversified group of doctors, lawyers, realtors, business people, young IT people, folks that have been here forever. No offense, Mr. DeBard. Beer distributors, car dealerships, and people that in my generation, we've looked up to a lot of these folks as our heroes. Reamer King, Fred DeBard, and the like. Gene Leatherman, Kay Floyd. The list just goes on, and people more my age, Tim Norwood. All these folks are just outstanding, and the common thread that we have with this group is the fact that not only are they wonderful business leaders, the things that they've done for the economy and the impact, but also they've given back so generously of their time and service to this community. So I'm proud to be a part of it tonight. I'm proud to be here. You know, as a young man, I was told to be successful, both personally and professionally and financially, you had to be a doctor, a lawyer, or an Indian chief, as my mother would say. But I think we know now that great wealth can be acquired not only through those traditional paths, but also through innovative thinking, hard work, determination, and a lot of imagination. And the only limitation on your ability to succeed is the limitation you have with your own drive and determination, and not the person who's immediately above you. And that's a great thing. I'm so excited to have you here, Senator Leatherman. Thank you. I saw Terry Alexander. Thank you for making this building possible for us to host such a wonderful event. Senator Leatherman never takes the credit, but tonight he said this is Gene's night, so don't do that to him. And we thank you. I want to leave everyone with a quote that I think is important, and I'll ask him to put it up on the board, from Mark Twain. And it says, "The two most important days in your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why." And I think that's so powerful, because I'm hopeful that this entrepreneurial program will enable our students to find out why. So I welcome you tonight. I know it's going to be a wonderful evening. Everything looks beautiful. And I'll call on Reverend Lowerly to come over, Nick Lowerly, to come over here and give us our invocation.
Let us pray. Gracious and loving God, we give you thanks for this day that you've made and blessed us with life and health and breath. We thank you for this opportunity to come together tonight, and we ask for your blessings upon us as we're gathered here. We pray for those who we honor tonight, and we give thanks for their leadership and the contributions which they have made to our community. We ask that you'd bless them and their families, all those who are here. We pray for your blessings on the food which we're about to receive, that you would bless it for the nourishment of our bodies and our bodies to thy service. For we ask these things in the name of Christ our Lord. Amen.
Jill has given me strict instructions to let everybody know that the dinner will be served buffet style on both sides of the room, and she asked that we'll do 2 lines so we can start. Help yourself, and if you don't see it, ask for it, and we'll be happy to accommodate. Good evening, everyone.
Tonight, to kick us off, I have a good colleague and friend here, and it's my pleasure to introduce to you tonight Leighton and Tammy Cubbage. Tammy's in the audience back there. We're thrilled that she's here. I think she might be the brains of this operation with them, but Leighton gets a lot of credit for it. Leighton was raised over in Sumter, so he's very familiar with the PD. Leighton is the co-founder and chairman of Sirius Capital Partners, a real estate investment group of the upstate. Prior to that, he was the co-founder, president, and chief operating officer of Corporate Telemanagement Group, which he worked with from 1989 until 1995 when they sold the company. Since 95, Leighton's been a private investor. He's invested in weekly newspapers, car dealerships across the state, and many, many other projects. He's a Clemson graduate, 1977 graduate, political science major, and a football player at Clemson University. So some other things, too many to mention, but a few things I will mention. Leighton previously served as the chairman of the Greenville Hospital System Board of Trustees. He was a former member of the Greenville Technical College Foundation Board and has served on the board of directors of the Greenville Chamber of Commerce. And just to give you a little bit of background as to how we got to where we are today, I had the opportunity to be involved with Leighton in the upstate, and he was really the impetus of us getting such an organization going in the upstate. And told him we had a good opportunity here in the PD, and would he come down and talk to us. So he's been down here several times, spoken to some of the civic clubs, and has worked with the college. So we thank Leighton a lot for being here with us to do that. Also, Leighton was chosen by our governor as chairman of the South Carolina Venture Capital Authority and was inducted into the Clemson University Spiro Entrepreneurial Institute Hall of Fame in 2011. In 1993, he's continued his education. He graduated from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill Advanced Management Program, and he currently serves on the board of the Clemson Spiro College of Entrepreneurship and also on the boards of Homes of Hope. So if you would, please help me welcome Leighton and Tammy here. Thank you.
Tammy looked at me when I was getting ready to walk up there. She said, remember the 2 B's. Be brief and be seated. Right off the bat, I just want to tell you how fired up I am to be here and to see what y'all have put together. This is amazing. And just from my heart, I'm telling you right now, the 15 people being honored is what we ought to be doing all over America. We ought to be honoring people that not only serve us and defend us, but we're also people that are out there in the free enterprise system in America, building jobs, building careers, and building communities. Give people a hand. Okay? And for me, what fires me up the most is that this is being built around an organization that some people might say is sort of like the first ladder of the American dream. If you want to move ahead, no matter what your background is or whatever excuse you may have, you could come to this school, Florence County Tech, be involved in an organization like this and move your life forward. I know I did it. I had this company going through the roof, and I didn't understand finance from accounting or anything else. And I went over and grabbed a professor and said, I've got to learn finance and accounting and balance sheets and that sort of thing. Help me, Greenville Tech. And at Greenville Tech, we came together with a group of people, and that guy right there was right there beside us doing it, Dr. Ben Dillard, and he's seen it done. And over 15 years, we've pulled together a massive force of folks just like in this room. And those folks stay together, they work together, they know each other, and they bring their families in and they have these celebrations. There's a bunch of people that have had careers here that have never been celebrated. They're going to get a trophy, they're going to walk out in front of their son, their daughter, their wife or something, and it's going to be an emotional moment. And you're going to clap for them, you're going to love them. It's just special. It's just dead-gum special. And you know what else is special? You currently are living in an area where there's no more excuses. Because of the leadership that's built this building and brought this community together, there's no more excuses. Useless excuses make you useless. Florence is positioned to do anything it wants to do. Two people come together and decide they want to do something, they can do it, right? It takes vision to do it. Somebody's got to see it. You got a leader here that sees it. He did it. He expects this to happen. Without vision, you perish. What the mind can conceive and believe, you can achieve. We become what we think about. Change your thoughts. Florence is changing. You need to change. We need to change. This is a part of South Carolina that can catch on fire and go to the moon. There's no excuses. The music hit. Maybe that's a good time for me to stop too. That's all right. It's all right. Anyway, it's a great honor to be here with you, and I just want to say, you know, God bless all the winners and the people behind them that's standing with them. It's a beautiful thing to be here in Florence, South Carolina, as an American entrepreneur, looking at other entrepreneurs and saying, hey, good job, good job. You are somebody, you are a winner. And those people that are assisting them and around them, you know, give yourself a hand too. And those young people that want to do it, you know, I couldn't pay attention in school. I know advanced management and all that stuff, but I'm gonna tell you something. But if I see someone that's done it and I could look at him and talk to him, you know, how'd you build that hotel? How'd you do that car dealership? How'd you do that business you're in, that real estate company? You know, I can project on that. And there's people here that will see your example and who you are and what you stand for. And isn't it great to lift up the great examples? I'm getting the be seated look from my wife. All right, love y'all. Have a great night.
Thank you, Leighton, very much. And now Jill Lewis is going to come forward, and she's going to introduce our Mistress of Ceremonies tonight. So thank you again for being here.
First, I want to say thank you personally to every single one of you who are here in support of the college. And second, I want to say FDTC is thrilled to introduce you to our first entrepreneurial inaugural class for 2015. We are very proud of these entrepreneurs, and this is the beginning of what we plan to show off for the rest of time. At this point in time, I would like to introduce you to Janie Walters. Janie Walters is an entrepreneur and an award-winning human communication specialist. She's a master teacher with more than 25 years experience in interpersonal communications, public speaking, debate, and theater at the high school and college levels. Janie is currently a professional speaker and a corporate trainer for more than 1,000 national, state, and local conferences. Clients including Federally Employed Women's National Convention, the Family, Career, and Community of American National Conference, the National Kidney Foundation, Corps of Engineers, the FBI Chicago office, and the National Security Agent, to name a few. Janie is a dynamic and enthusiastic speaker with insightful information and a passion for joy. Her energy and positive attitude is infectious. Please join me in welcoming Janie, who will absolutely brighten your evening.
Woo! Thank you. You did great. You did great. Woo! Y'all, it is liberating to say who everybody's saying. Are you ready? Woo! Now let's do it one more time for the people who weren't sure we were going to do it that time. Okay, are you ready? Woo! Oh, I want you to know if at any point during this program you get a feeling that one of those needs to come up, you let it out. But now if it starts down, hang on to that one, okay? Y'all, I am honored to be here at this first inaugural Entrepreneurial Forum. And I want you to know the people that we are honoring tonight have let their leadership and their creativity soar to new heights that have taken us with them. They provided jobs for us. They provided economic booms to our communities. And we are so grateful for the examples. You know, later in the program, the inductees into this forum are going to receive a beautiful eagle, and I think it's wonderful that it represents the spirit that caused them to soar so high. You know, probably at some point they felt an optimistic spirit that came up deep inside of them, and it might even have had them sing at one point or another an old song. And if you know it, sing along with me. You gotta accentuate the positive. And if some of you gray hairs know this, come on. You gotta accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, latch on to the affirmative, and don't mess with Mr. In Between. And y'all, that's what our inductees have done. They have actually latched on to the affirmative, and they haven't messed with Mr. In Between. But you know, when we think about optimism at all levels, you know, some people have misguided optimism, like the lady and the gentleman who were walking to a Coke machine at the same time. And because he was a gentleman, he let the lady go first. Well, she dug in her purse and she found 50 cents and she put it into the machine and she punched a button and out came a Coke. And then she dug in her purse and found $1 and put it in the machine and punched a button and out came a Coke and 50 cents. And then she took the 50 cents. About this time, the gentleman was getting just a little bit impatient. And so he said, "Ma'am, are you about finished?" And she looked at him and said, "Duh, I'm still winning." A lot of people have misguided ideas about optimism. And one of such was a young engineer that graduated from MIT at the top of his class. And he fully expected, because of his prestigious degree, that he would land a fabulous job. Well, he went to an interview. They were very taken with the young man, toured him all through the building, and the HR director brought him back to her office to talk about hiring. And she looked at the young man and said, "Tell me, sir, what were you thinking about as a starting salary?" And he looked at her and said, "Well, I was thinking I would start somewhere around the neighborhood of $125,000, depending, of course, on the benefits package." And she said, "Well, how does this sound for a benefits package? 5 weeks paid vacation, 14 paid holidays, full medical and dental benefits, company matching funds for retirement up to 50% of your salary, and a company leased car, say a new one every 2 years, something like a red Corvette. How does that sound?" His eyes got real big and he said, "Wow, are you kidding?" And she said, "Yes, but you started it." Optimism, optimism, optimism. You know, optimists realize that there are problems, and some of the problems that we have will not go away. But you can be an optimist starting at any age, just like one young boy who was giving his dad a huge problem trying to go to bed at night. I mean, he spit toothpaste all over the bathroom and he wouldn't get in his pajamas, and finally the daddy got him in the bed, and the father went back to read the evening newspaper. In 5 minutes, he heard coming from the boy's room, "Daddy, I'm thirsty. Would you please bring me a glass of water?" And the father said, "No, son, you were entirely too uncooperative. If you would have done what I asked you to do, you could have had all the water you wanted. But you were disrespectful, and I'm not bringing you any water, and don't ask again." 5 minutes. Daddy, I'm really thirsty. Would you please bring me some water? And the father said, no. And I told you not to ask me. If you ask me one more time, I'm going to come in there and spank you. 5 minutes. Daddy, when you come in here to spank me, would you bring me a glass of water? You know, optimists know if you just keep on, you can go around the mountain, you can go through the mountain, you could go over the mountain, but you don't give up, you don't quit. You know, optimism, by definition, is an inclination to put the most favorable construction upon actions and events, or to anticipate the best possible outcome. And let me just tell you, these entrepreneurs are people who anticipate the best possible outcome. They don't go into life expecting to fail. But when failure comes, which is a part of the process, they have the confidence to know that if they keep trying, they can find a way. Optimists aren't always happy. They just always think they will be happy soon. You know, a lot of optimism depends on what you think about first thing in the morning. And so let me ask you this question. What did you think about first thing this morning when you got up? I mean, did you sing the old song? And if you know these songs, sing it with me. Did you sing the old song? You load 16 tons, what do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. St. Peter, don't you call me, 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store. Or did you say zippity-doo-dah, zippity-a? My, oh my, what a wonderful day. I mean, it really matters. First thing in the morning, what do you think? And let me just tell you, optimists get up excited. Optimists get up knowing they can make a difference, and they become entrepreneurials. You know, Abraham Lincoln, one of our most favorite of all presidents, said the pessimist sees the difficulty in every opportunity, and the optimist sees the opportunity in every difficulty. Winston Churchill, one of our greatest leaders of the 20th century, says, I am an optimist. It doesn't make much sense being anything else. And of course, you all know Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're absolutely right. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not the direction of the wind, but the set of the sails that determines the direction a ship has gone. And at this point, I want to stop and let's recognize some of the people who have set their sails in the right direction that has led them to great success and made our worlds a great deal better.
I think my biggest strength is people business, getting along with people, motivating them, and I stick to this, don't give up, keep on going when the times get tough.
Well, I believe my biggest strength is helping others. I've always enjoyed the business arena, just sharing advice, giving advice on different things. And in my business, that's what I do. I try to give people advice and let them pick what's comfortable for them. So I think my biggest strength is helping others.
My biggest strength, according to my wife, is my wit, charm, and personality. Could be my good looks or my sense of humor. But I think my very best attribute, my best quality, is my positive attitude. Always looking for the best in everything, whether it's a person or an opportunity. Sometimes you get burned by that, you go on the negative side of it, but I think overall, if you look for the positive in everything, you end up on the plus side of life.
I think my biggest strength is that I have learned to deal with fear pretty effectively.
Number one, I've always been lucky. Second thing is I always love what I did. I think it's, you classify it as hard work, but you know, when you love what you do, it's really never hard work.
There are 3 secrets to success in my life. One is the support I have at home from my wife and my sons, Fields and Eric. You know, they believe in me, which fuels me to be to work hard and drive for success. The second is association. My mother taught me a long time ago that it's the people you associate with and the books you read makes you the person you become. And so therefore I've been very fortunate to associate with a lot of great people, a lot of partners over the last 25 years that we've helped each other succeed. And the last thing is a work ethic and ambition. I learned those from my mom and dad. I saw my dad go to work every day at Sunoco Products Company in Hartsville, work all 3 shifts. He'd come home and he'd get on a tractor and work again. So I saw all that work ethic he had. And my mother was a home builder, if you can believe that. And she always had a lot of ambition, always doing some projects, always trying to be better. And so from my parents, it was work ethic and ambition I learned.
Well, I have to laugh when you say, what is the secret to my success? Because I don't believe there is one secret, but the biggest is hard work. And I think someone told me that it was hard work and what you put into it. And I enjoy what I do. So it's enjoying what you do is the secret, enjoying who you work with, and just enjoying life, period.
Well, I don't know that any secret. I think it's pretty common knowledge that you throw the clock out the window and go to work. I mean, there's no secret to that.
To the extent that I've had success, I would say the secret to it is hard work and originality.
I would think a lot had to do with my education. I feel like I just had a great opportunity, and most of it was because of my education.
Opportunity is the reason I chose to develop a business in Florence. And it's a lot of different reasons that opportunity is there. It's opportunity because where we're located on the interstate. It's the opportunity of all the other surrounding businesses that are here in McLeod and Carolinas, hospitals, and all the other manufacturing, Roche and Honda. All those companies create a great business environment, creates opportunity because of jobs and trickle-down effect of those people that have the jobs. Particularly now, where we are in our Renaissance of Florence, with the political leadership and the leadership from all the different foundations and Francis Mayor and everybody cooperating, everybody on the same page, couldn't be a better opportunity ever than we have right now in Florence.
And I actually did not decide to grow my business in Florence. I moved here when I married my husband. So moving to Florence, I was a transplant. That's what I called myself, a transplant. And within 6 months, State Farm interviewed me for this position. And in the next 6 months, I had my agency. So this has been my career for 29 years. So I think it chose me.
I chose Florence because I grew up in Mullins, and the first job I had after returning from Vietnam was in Florence. And from that point forward, I just slowly and surely progressed into being a Florentine.
You know, I'm originally from Lake City, and I just love the state of South Carolina. I love Florence County, and it never was any question in my mind where I was coming back and where I wanted to live.
The best advice I ever received was always pay yourself, always take time to look over your budgets and to plan. And you know, we all fall short of that because we get so busy and we tend to let things fall to the side. But you have to take care of yourself, and that was one of the best advice I was given.
The best advice that I've ever received is don't fear failure. So I've always found it's better to try and fail than never try at all.
Just work hard and stick to your goals and treat people nice. And just don't give up. Just keep going.
My uncle, that was really my mentor here in Florence, Dr. Frank Lee Sr., always told me to work hard and be totally honest and straightforward with everybody you dealt with.
The best advice I've ever received and taken was from, best practical advice was from my father, who said, if you ever want a job done right, hire somebody who's intelligent and lazy. They'll find the best and cheapest way to do it.
I believe in giving back, and the community supports me and so many businesses I've been involved in. And so I think it's important to give back, and I've spent, I believe in giving time and money, and time sometimes is more important than the money. My wife and I, we've given back to churches we attend. I've been involved in the Boy Scouts of America, the PD Area Council Boy Scouts, and I was an Eagle Scout, and I wanted every kid in the PD area to have that same opportunity. So that's one thing I believe in that.
And giving back to Florence is 100%. You cannot help but not to give back. If you're in the business arena, you're involved with the community activities that go on. When you go out, you're sharing, you're giving back to different organizations. They call on you, and with the alphabet of A, I'm called on for just about everything. So giving back is just part of what you do when you belong to the business community.
Well, I don't know that I give back to Florence as much as I should, but what I do is I take the things that I enjoy doing and then I apply what I enjoy doing to something that helps Florence, like the Little Theater or the museum, or watching businesses grow, helping create entrepreneurs, helping create jobs, helping the businesses we have stay out of trouble.
Well, we all try to make Florence a better place, and I hope that I have participated in trying to make Florence a better place. At this time, Florence is on a roll. We are really, really moving on, and I think the groundwork has been laid for Florence to become even better than it is today.
First of all, Florence has been good to me. And as I'm in the community, in the area, I just see so much need. So many people that don't have the education to go forward. I see so many poor people. And help them to the extent where they can help themselves move forward with education.
Well, I feel that Florence-Darlington Tech is a strength of Florence because it is a definite asset. When you have students or people that can go to a college and learn a skill, and they can also go here in Florence to a university and plan their careers, it just gives us an opportunity to have choice. And I think Florence-Darlington Tech offers that to each individual.
Florence-Darlington Tech is probably one of the singular strengths that Florence has. We've always had excellent leadership there, but the ability to custom tailor a training regime to the jobs that our people can do and that are actually here, I just think is a unique and incredible thing.
This school educates so many people. It's amazing, once I got more familiar with it in recent years, I didn't even realize, I don't think the mass of the people realizes what goes on here at this school. The multiplicity of courses they teach, skills they teach. It's the best buy in education around. And compared to a regular four-year college, whether it be private or state, that's a real buy. That's a real buy. This is just the best thing going in this part of the state is this school right here.
As I call your name, will you please come forward and receive your award? Mr. Bill Daly. Mrs. Starlee Alexander. Mr. Tim Norwood. Mr. Reynolds Williams. As we get this photograph of this group together, let's give them all a big round of applause. Thank you so very much. And what a fine looking bunch they are. Oh, thank you so very much. You know, some people are afraid of technology, but each one of these admitted that technology was important to them. And they also said that, you know, the entrepreneurial spirit in general is just not afraid of anything. What is the challenge? And we will do it. What do you want us to do? And I want you to know, living that way with an optimistic entrepreneurial spirit actually has many benefits. One of them is that you're willing to take a risk, and risk takers tend to succeed at everything. You know, Ethel was a risk taker. Ethel and Myrtle had worked together for many years, and they were sitting together after retirement on this park bench, and Ethel looked at Myrtle and said, "Myrtle, I am so bored. I mean, all we do is just eat and walk and shop and sit on this park bench. And across the street from them was the city hall where there was a big flower contest going on, a floral contest. And she said, for $5, Myrtle, I'd strip off my clothes and I'd go running into that flower show. And Myrtle got to digging in her purse and said, all right, go. And so as fast as the little old lady could, Ethel started taking off all her clothes. She ran across the street into City Hall and into that flower show. And I'm telling you, there was confusion at first, and then there was screaming and hollering, and then great applause. And it wasn't long before Ethel came running out and said, look, Myrtle, I won first prize for best dried arrangement. I mean, you take a few risks, you know. Entrepreneurs and optimists tend to be very persistent. They don't give up easily. You know, I'm reminded of the little girl who said, Mommy, can I please go out and play with the boys? And the mama said, no, darling, you know, the boys are too rough. You can't play with them. And the little girl thought for a minute, and she said, well, Mommy, if I can find the smooth one, can I play with him? I mean, that girl was an optimist. And they're also, optimists tend to live longer. Did you know that? They tend to have longer lives, as much as 7 years longer. But I will tell you this, it's appointed unto every man once to die, and after that, the judgment. You know, there were these 3 friends that died and went to heaven, and because they'd been such great leaders in their community, St. Peter met them and said, listen, because you have been such outstanding citizens, I'm going to give you an opportunity to say what the people are going to say when they pass your coffins. And so the first man stepped over to the cloud and looked down on himself, and he said, well, I'd like to hear him say that I was a great father, and I set a good example for my sons and all their friends. And St. Peter said, that's noble. You will hear it said. Well, the second person stood up and said, well, I'd like to hear him say that I was a great community leader and that I led the city to do wonderful things. And St. Peter said, that is noble. You will hear it said. And the next man stopped up and said, well, I'd like to hear him say, look, he's moving. Okay. And with that said, let us move directly into our next set of videos. Thank you so much.
I feel my biggest strength is my sense of empathy and the ability to have a certain amount of compassion for others.
My family tells me that my biggest strength is my personality. I am pretty much a true extrovert, which means that I am stimulated when I am around people, and I would almost all the time choose to be around people. I think it's important to have good instincts. I think it's important to genuinely care about people, and I think that always comes across well.
I would say my biggest strength is, first of all, humility. Humility because I understand that I don't know everything, and by employing very good people and allowing them to do what they do well, it makes my organization better. And after humility, I would say confidence, and that's the confidence to allow my people to do the job that they're hired for and not try to micromanage them.
Well, if I have any strength at all, it's probably because I don't mind working pretty hard, and I try to treat everybody as equals and be pleasant to everybody.
I never thought I was going to be spectacular. I never thought I was going to be the dullest one, because I'd make it somewhat. I'd make it one way or the other, you know. I didn't know how. And as a matter of fact, I told my wife that when I gave her the ring. I said, I don't know what's going to happen, how we're going to do it, but someday I'll make it.
The secret to my success probably goes back to my parents, for sure. I give them a lot of credit for a lot of the success that I've achieved to this point. A lot of the things that they instilled in me as a child in terms of hard work and perseverance, to never give up. A lot of that I basically credit them for, and without them, I certainly would not be at that point in my life at this time.
Well, I grew up in South Carolina. I love South Carolina, and I know people all over the state, and I think that is one of the secrets to my success.
The secret to my success is a combination of wonderful support by my family and friends and just plain hard work. I hate to admit it, but I really think that women have to work harder to prove themselves in whatever your endeavor. So I would always recommend to people that you blend your skills, your personality, your commitment, your passion with something that you love to do, but always be willing to work really hard.
I think I've been persistent. I never have given up. I just keep banging away, and I'm patient. I try not to fly off the handle. I'm fairly even-tempered, and I just keep digging, and I'm very patient about what I want to do and what I get done. I know what I like to get done, and I just keep working at it.
At the end of the day, I've always done the things that others often didn't want to do. And the late nights of working when you don't want to be studying, or you don't want to be at work, or you don't want to be doing inventory, those are the times that I think it's really separated me and our business from a lot of others, and peers that come to me wanting help. At the end of the day, we outwork a lot of problems here with our dedication to doing what's right.
I chose to come back to Florence and to start, number one, a medical practice in Florence because of my strong family ties and strong ties to the community.
I think Florence is a very progressive, small city, and it seemed like it would be a very good place to practice law in a very old and established law firm, and I was happy that I had an opportunity to come here and practice with Wilcox, Bike and Williams Law Firm.
And I thought if I ever had an opportunity, it would be in Florence. And so I brought my family to Florence. I didn't know a soul in Florence other than the people I bought from, but I also went to school with a lot of people in Florence, so I felt at home. I didn't know squat about the area, but I'd always lived in mid-state and upstate, but I wouldn't leave here for the world. This is a great town.
Sharice and I picked Florence for one real simple reason, and that would be hospitality. Florence is a very hospitable market in that, not being original Florentines and coming in new to a market, the Florence and the PD area gave us an opportunity. They were hospitable enough to say, if you take good care of us and you treat us right and you're fair, we will do business with you.
The best advice I think I ever got, it was a contemporary of my father who worked for the company, same company I went to work with after I got out of service. And we were going around doing shows food, so I was in the food business, and we were doing different shows, and I would always be trying to put on the best display of food and this sort of thing. And this fellow who was one of my daddy's contemporaries, he came up to me one day and put his arm around me. He said, "DeBard," he said, "you're a nice young fellow." He said, "You're gonna do okay." He said, "Well, let me tell you something." He said, don't keep trying to hit a home run every time you step up. He said, just hit the ball and get on base. He said, just be consistent, and said, you'll do well. This home run stuff has got to go out the window. And he was right.
The best advice probably goes back to my mother, and all throughout grade school, all throughout college, all throughout medical school, all throughout my professional life, she would always just, one simple sort of life thing was to never quit.
The best advice was probably from my wife, who told me to marry her.
I was once told from my brother-in-law, believe it or not, that champions were not made champions in the ring, and he was relating it to boxing. Champions were made champions long before they ever entered a ring. The late nights training and working out and studying the craft of what they do. They were simply recognized in the ring, but they became champions all the hours and the days and the months before that. So the best advice I've ever received was recognize that to be a champion, you'll need to do it long before you're ever recognized as a champion.
The best advice that I probably ever received would have been from my husband when he said, you should go in real estate. He said, you have sales experience, this is a thriving community, it's something that fits your personality, and I think that's what you really should do.
Sharice and I try to give back to Florence in many different ways. First of all, through some of the great philanthropic organizations and nonprofits in town, the Boys and Girls Club, United Way, Big Brothers Big Sisters, so many great organizations. Also, we believe that when you individually come across someone, help them. Even when it's easier to go the other direction, when you see somebody in need, try to really do the Good Samaritan. And it's not always easy because it's not always convenient, but it's right.
Well, I try to participate in my church and in school activities and the Rotary Club and in many other professional and civic organizations, cultural as well. I'm on the board of the Dr. Bruce and Lee Foundation, and we have a very strong interest in making Florence move forward.
My volunteer activities are mostly involved with education through the school foundation. So committed to what we're doing to improve education, to start smart for young children, because education provides a way to improve yourself. Education gives you hope.
I had the honor of serving on the state technical education board for 7 years, and I got to see how the entire tech system worked throughout the state. And Florence-Darlington Tech is one of the strongest of all the institutions, the 16 institutions, and it has a remarkable impact on not only Florence and Darlington, but the entire PD area.
Florence-Darlington Technical College provides real skills for real work and real businesses, and that's why it's so important to our community.
Tech prepares potential candidates for the jobs that are actually out there, and not just jobs, but careers.
And Florence-Darlington Tech has done an exceptional, job at creating an opportunity for a lot of people within this community in many different areas. We would not be where we are in Florence without them at this point in time.
And I think that's the strength of this community, is Florence-Darlington Tech. Whether people realize it or not, it is a strength. It provides a workforce that runs this community.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's recognize this group. Dr. John Keith. Mrs. Jean Leatherman. Mr. Mike Reckenbach. Mr. Mark Bike. This award is being received by his son, Mark Bike III. And Mr. Fred Dugard. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give this entire group a big round of applause. Wow, the benefits of what these people have done for our community are just too numerous to name, but just the benefits that come to them because they are optimistic and entrepreneurs. It's amazing. People who believe that they can actually have less stress than those of us who wonder if we can. I don't care how righteous or sanctimonious you are, we are all at one time or another under a great deal of stress. There was one pastor of a large church who came home one day to find that there was a dead mule in the street in front of his house. Well, he was a good citizen, and even though he was tired, he went and he called the director of the Animal Control Agency. And he said, "Sir, I'm the pastor of the First Self-Righteous Church on the corner of Good and Getting Better, and we have just come home to find that there is a dead mule in the street in front of my house." Well, to be cute, the director of the Animal Control Agency said, "Well, I thought you people were certified to bury your own." Without blinking an eye, that pastor said, "Yes, sir, we are certified and we are qualified. But first we notify their next of kin." Y'all, life is stressful, but entrepreneurs, optimists learn to deal with it. And you heard several of them mention their wives, people who supported them, their families who were behind them. And that's one thing we all know, optimists especially know, families and relationships are important. We need friends just like these two guys who were standing on the bank fishing. And they looked down the river and they saw that the game warden was coming up in a boat. And so as soon as the game warden started to dock, one of the boys threw his pole down and went running into the woods. Well, when the warden saw him, he jumped out of the boat and followed the boy into the woods. And so when he finally caught up with him, he said, "Son, I need to see your fishing license." And so the boy pulled out his fishing license and handed it to him. And he said, "Son, you're as dumb as a post. You don't have to run from the game warden when you've got a valid fishing license." And the boy said, "Yes, sir, I know that. But you know, my friend back on the bank, he ain't got one." No, we never need to get so busy that we don't take the time for good relationships. And you heard many of them talk about their failures, that they weren't afraid to fail. They focused on their successes, believing that they could, and they just assumed failure was a part of the process. You know, all of us fail. There was this one gentleman who was opening a business and a friend sent him some flowers. But whenever he opened the card for the flowers, the card said, "Rest in peace." He was a little disturbed by that, so he went and called the florist and he said, "Listen, I have just received some flowers. I know they're from a friend, but the card says rest in peace, and I'm disturbed about this." And she said, "Yes, sir, I'm sorry. That is a mistake, and it is my fault. But there's something worse taking place in this community. Somewhere in this community, there is a funeral taking place." And their card said, "Good luck in your new location." Good luck in your new location. There's some people who have gotten by with more than just luck, and we are going to see them in the very next set of videos. Thank you.
I think my biggest strength is probably the ability to have patience and to work with people. You know, when I see an opportunity on the horizon, I'm usually one of the most patient people to figure out how best to approach it and how we can go after it together as a team and collaboratively.
My biggest strength is my communication skills. And I also worked when I was in high school at a clothing store, and that really helped me to understand and know how to greet and treat your customers, how to sell to your customer, just how to overall be a great salesperson.
My biggest strength is recognizing talent in employees. If you surround yourself with fantastic people, you've got the battle won. It makes it mighty simple.
My biggest strength is probably my sense of memory. I have an extremely good memory. I remember people I've dealt with 25, 35 years ago, and I can remember their names, I can remember their homes, and you know, I think the good Lord blesses us with one gift in life, and maybe mine is my memory.
The secret to my success, I think, is maybe being just a little persistent, but knowing how, again, to treat and relate to your customers.
I think our secret to success is to give our managers complete freedom to make day-in-day decisions. I feel that when you give them that opportunity, it brings out the best in them, and that's the way we do that.
I don't know that there can be any one particular secret to success, but it all stems from definitely hard work and the ability to persevere through whatever obstacles or challenges one faces in life. And you know, just by staying focused on what your goals are and working every day to achieve them, or at least get a little bit closer, I think that anybody can have success.
The secret to my success is passion. I'm extremely passionate about what I do. I get excited every day coming to work and look forward to every new family that I meet and every new client, every new customer, and all the people I work with.
I chose to grow my business in Florence because of my granddaughter. No one told me that she would grow up. She was born in 1991, and I always liked clothing that was different. And you know, I just like fashion, and all of the nicer stores and boutiques around here were closing for whatever reason, and I would have to go out of town to shop for her. And I had someone to do a business plan, they did the demographics and everything, so I found out there's a need here, and it was all because of Maya that I decided to grow my business. So
growing my business in Florence was an absolute no-brainer. You know, it's It's a community filled with people that are passionate about Florence, but passionate about young people and new businesses starting up in our community. The Florence community opened up its arms and supported me when I was a very young man starting this business, and I'm very grateful for that opportunity, and I'm anxious to be able to give back to the next generation.
Florence is just a fantastic area to do business in. The local economy is always strong. Even in the down times that we had, this market was so much better than the larger cities, and I was just so thankful to be here. Being the center of the PD, we draw from all the smaller towns around, and that really helps us too. We're just very thankful for this Florence market.
Why not Florence? Florence is probably the greatest place in the world to live, work, and play. You know, I'm from Virginia, but I've been here since the mid-70s, I guess, and I just can't imagine going back home or living anywhere else. I just think Florence is the greatest place in the world to live, work, and play, and make new friends.
The best advice I would have to say, this is near and dear to me. About 10 years ago, I thought, you know, I don't know, I think I might close this business. And my dad was still living at the time, and I talked to him about it, and he said, well, I'll tell you what, you can keep it open or you can close it, but remember this, a winner never quit, and a quitter never wins, and that's why I'm still here.
I think the best advice I ever received is something that's, you know, kind of said over and over again, but it means so much when you're doing business with people, or even in life in general, which is to treat people the way you want to be treated. And if you can always remember that rule, and you can treat your employees, your business partners, your vendors, people that you do business with, your customers, the way that you would want to be treated, business and success will come back to you 10 times.
The best advice that I received was to pay my managers an annual bonus out of operating profit, and that way they would accumulate a good net worth, and let alone they would flat know that they were appreciated. And then it cuts out the having to replace managers, which is so expensive. Our average manager's been here about 20 years, and that's the reason. We just don't have any turnover. We keep them happy, and they keep me happy in return.
Go into real estate. That was the best advice anyone ever gave me. And it was back in 1980, and a fellow realtor today, a great friend of mine, said to me one day, why not real estate? You need to be a realtor. And I said, that sounds great, and I've never looked back.
I give back to Florence in many ways, through volunteering. I do it through gift giving, and when I say gift giving, to charities. I also, I don't have, I read this somewhere once, that you don't have to be rich to give to charities. And that is near and dear to me.
You know, Florence was such a big part of me starting my business, to be able to start it in Florence and then grow it all across South Carolina. It makes me very proud. I'm happy to brag on Florence. And, you know, to give back, I started with working with nonprofit organizations, volunteering, helping start a few nonprofits over the years. Our Young Professionals of Florence, I'm proud to have helped support that over the years. And, you know, right now, my biggest philanthropy right now is working to give back to the community through service on city council and the government.
I have given back to Florence first to Central United Methodist Church. I was on the founding board of RX Pharmaceutical and on the founding board of the school foundation. Not only do I do these things myself, I want my employees to do it, and I give them the time to do it, which, you know, is good for them too, to do their part.
Well, my husband and I both are very active in the community. We do a lot of work with the American Cancer Society. I'm on the board of McLeod Health. I'm a Rotarian here in town, and you know, it's not all about giving money, it's about giving your time and talent as well. We're interested in the arts. We participate in the little theater and Florence-Darlington Tech and SIMT and all the things that make Florence wonderful today.
I think Florence-Darlington Tech is a strength of the PD because it has helped us train our people so well in their, you know, in their fields that we need. not only in office help, but in mechanical. They have done a fantastic job. And when you educate people, you remove poverty, and that is fantastic.
Well, no question about that. They are a great strength. As a matter of fact, I am a product of Florence-Darlington Technical College.
They're extremely responsive to the needs of both the business community and the people that live and work here in the Florence area and the Darlington area. So no doubt Florence-Darlington Tech is in tune with economic development, and when there's an opportunity to grow jobs and teach people the skills that they need to tackle the next generation of jobs, Florence-Darlington Tech has always delivered.
I have never seen a successful business that got started without an entrepreneurial person. When we think of entrepreneurial people, they're people that have a tremendous amount of drive. They come from all walks of life with creativity, and these people thrive on finding an opportunity that is a need and then determining how to best satisfy that need. When we think about entrepreneurial, we not only think about small, medium-sized, and large companies, we think about all companies together. And I have always admired people that had the fortitude to take and risk everything for something they deeply believed in. And here at Florence-Darlington Tech, we've certainly benefited from that. The people that we're inducting into our inaugural class for the Entrepreneurial Forum have been very successful in our community, and we've all benefited from that. And so it's our honor at Florence-Darlington Tech to have these people and have them be willing to be inducted into our inaugural class. And we expect in the future we will identify other people to be inducted, and also this inaugural class will be working closely with an entrepreneurial studies program that we'll be launching in the spring. So we're excited to have these people join us in a different capacity for the college, and we look forward to them being involved in the future.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's honor this third group. And now, Mr. Robbie Hill. Mrs. Charlene Lowry. Mr. Reamer King. Mrs. Kay Paris. And Mr. Toy Nettles. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give this last round of entrepreneurs a big hand. Wow, what a night, what a night. And y'all, as I come with my final closing remarks, I just want you to know I'm living proof that you don't have to be perfect. Isn't that good? You can be an entrepreneur, you can be successful, and you don't have to be perfect. It helps if you're perky, but you don't have to be perfect. As I end this, I truly am honored to have been a part of this. When I heard their comments, and I've heard so much and I read so much about the people that we've honored, it truly is a blessing to be in the room with you. And I do just want to encourage all of us, you know, it's our hope that you 15, this very first class, this very first group of Entrepreneurial Forum inductees, that you will come alongside Florence-Darlington Technical College, and that you will help mentor the students that are engaged in the upcoming new series of entrepreneurial studies that is launched at the college in March. The college would love it if you would come into some of those classrooms and tell those students about your successes, and tell those students especially about your failures and what you did to overcome them. You know, there's an old saying that says success without a successor is failure. And I know many of you already have people who are walking in your footsteps, but let me just tell you, the young people, even the old people that will be in these classes, need to follow in your footsteps as well. And so we pray that you will find time to give into their lives as well. And let me just encourage you, nobody is so young or old or capable or incapable that you can't do something. Just ask Larry, because you see, Larry was a stutterer, and most people didn't like to talk to Larry much because it was hard to. But the church that he went to was in trouble. You see, they were in big financial trouble, and a big book company donated 900 Bibles to the church and said, listen, if you can sell these Bibles for $10 each, you can have all of the money. Well, the pastor pleaded with the people to come forward, pick up some of the Bibles and sell them, but only 3 men came. And so he reluctantly gave 300 to the first 2 and finally to Larry. He shook his head thinking Larry will never sell these Bibles. But the next week the men came back, and the first man came and he said, sir, I was able to sell 30 of the 300 books that you gave me, and here is a check for $300. And the next gentleman said, sir, I was able to sell 50 of those Bibles, and here's you a check for $500. And finally Larry came up and he said to the pastor, here's the check for $3,000. And the pastor's eyes got so big. Larry, how in the world did you sell all those Bibles? And he said, well, I put them in the trunk of my car, and I drove to the subdivision, and one of the guys said, Larry, we'll be here all day long if you try to tell us everything. Will you just get to the main point? What did you say when the lady came to the front door? Larry said, well, I just said, ma'am, would you like to buy this Bible for $10, or would you rather that I read it to you? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I've enjoyed being with you.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Let's give her another hand. I think she brought some good entertainment to us tonight. I want to thank you again for the huge turnout tonight, just beyond our expectations, really. And Jill and her crew did a wonderful job in putting this together. We want to say a congratulatory word again to our honorees. We thank y'all for allowing us to have you be part of the college. We thank everybody in this room for the support that you give this institution. Without you and without your support, we could not do what we do for this community. So thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for participating, and have a safe drive home. Thank you.